Hello everyone and welcome to my Draw My Life. I've wanted to do one of these videos for absolutely ages and here I am doing it finally. So let's get on with it. I was born in 1981 in the Yorkshire Dales in England. It's a beautiful scenic part of the world. My mum and dad then had two more children, my middle sister who is disabled and my youngest sister who is not disabled. And then when I was 5, my mum and dad split up and we moved down to Oxford. It turned out that my dad ended up moving down a few years later as well, but for the time it was just us down in Oxford. We got a small house. When I say small, it was really, really tiny. It was basically kind of one house split into two, and it had a small living room, tiny kitchen, one bedroom on the first floor and a little bathroom, and then an attic room. So all three of us girls slept in the attic. But it felt like a perfect house and we really enjoyed living there. One of my favourite childhood memories is going to the park in our local village, and there was a circus on and we were just playing around in the park, and then this camel appeared from nowhere and started chasing my friend, and me and my sister and his brother all sat on top of the climbing frame laughing at him. Obviously we didn't do anything to help, we just laughed at him, but it's one of my funniest childhood memories, and yes, he is still scared of camels, unsurprisingly. When I was 9, I started at a new school, and it was a school that I had to get a train to, and my mum used to walk me down to the train station every single day, and I would get on a train and then I would get a bus from Oxford station. I used to travel with two girls who were a couple of years older than me, and I really, really loved the independence and the freedom that brought me. I wasn't particularly keen on the new school though. It was a big school. It was a private school and there were a lot of girls there, and I didn't ever really feel like I properly fitted in. In my early teens I developed a new love, and that was of Take That, and thankfully my friends and I all felt exactly the same way. And I used to go to bed every night under my Take That duvet cover with Mark Owen on my pillow. I was that sad. So in 1994, me and my 3 best friends at the time went to Wembley to see Take That, and it was absolutely amazing. We were in some of the furthest seats away from the stage. My dad basically took us and just drank booze and then chilled out so that he didn't actually have to listen to all the screaming girls. It was an absolutely incredible experience, and my love of Take That does continue. Age 14, I didn't really like my school and I wasn't really working very hard at all. I wasn't working to my potential. I really wasn't trying at school. I basically didn't do any homework. So I was asked to leave and I went to a new school. And the new school was much smaller. It had far fewer girls in each class, and I got on much, much better in that school. Going to an all-girls school definitely taught me that I could do whatever I wanted. I didn't feel that I could ever not do anything that was a typically male job. In fact, I was always drawn to very typically male jobs. I dropped out of school at 16. I really didn't enjoy school. I didn't enjoy hierarchy and I rebelled against it. And so at the age of 16, I got a job in London. I started off by commuting from Oxford to London 5 days a week. But then I soon realised that it was really hard work. So at the age of 17, I moved to London and started renting a room in a flat where I also had to kind of nanny for the little boy who lived there. It was my way of getting cheap rent. I also, at the age of 17, met a boy, and he was a boy called Tim, and I was absolutely besotted with him. He was 23, so he kept telling me that I was too young. At the age of 18, Tim and I finally started going out, and it felt like I'd pursued him for a very, very long time, even though in reality it was probably only just under a year. However, it didn't last long, and a month later we split up and I was heartbroken. 6 months after that, I'd had a different boyfriend called Rob. We'd split up. I'd grown up a lot. I'd got a new job in London and I was really excited about it, and it just happened that Tim and I were going to go out for a drink, and we went out for a drink, and then 3 weeks after that he got down on one knee and said, "Will you marry me?" And I was the happiest girl that there was. At the age of 19, I got my absolutely perfect job. It was working for BBC Sport, where I kind of edited packages and put things together, and I loved working there. I worked at Television Centre and it was just wonderful. I literally loved every single day, and I was really, really sad when I left. When I was 21, we moved back up to the Yorkshire Dales and we got married here, and I absolutely love living up here. I've never ever looked back. Then we bought our first house. It was a small terraced house with 2 bedrooms, and it was absolutely perfect for us. And we got 2 little cats as well. When we moved up to Yorkshire, I continued for a little while with my job down in London, but it was becoming too hard to commute kind of weekly, and I just couldn't do it. So I got a new job, and this was in Leeds prison. It was an interesting job, but I didn't particularly enjoy some of the people I was working with, and that made my life quite difficult. The inmates I had no problem with, and generally it was a good job. From that job I went through a few other little jobs, and then I ended up as a medical secretary on an NHS dementia ward. I really enjoyed working there, which is probably quite surprising, but it was an interesting role, and the people were absolutely lovely, the patients were lovely, and the relatives were lovely, and I honestly loved that job. At the age of 27, I'd had 3 miscarriages whilst we were trying for a baby, and we found out that I was pregnant again, and we were both very, very excited. We had a little baby boy who was £7 10 ounces and born on the 8th of March in 2009. At the age of 29, I was expecting another baby, and it was due on exactly the same day that the first baby had been. And this was a girl, and she was £6 5 ounces, and she was born on the 1st of March 2011. I didn't find out with either of the children what I was expecting, and it was really nice to do it that way. Just realised my husband hasn't got arms in this picture. That made me giggle. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I realised I couldn't actually afford to go back to work because I would just be working to pay for childcare. So the kind of illogical jump that I got to was to go to university. So I applied when I was pregnant, and I was very lucky to be accepted into Lancaster University. So I went there from 2011 to 2014. I studied philosophy, politics and economics, and I absolutely loved it. When I graduated, it was honestly one of the proudest days of my life. Both my children were with me, and my grandma was watching on the live stream at home. I graduated with a 2-1 in PPE, and I'm so proud of myself. I really did work hard at university, and it was totally all worth it, aside from the debt. 3 months after university, we moved house into my grandma's bed and breakfast. It was to help run the bed and breakfast, and it's in a beautiful, beautiful place. Not long after we'd moved into Grandma's house, Grandma sadly died from cancer, and I still miss her to this day. Fast forward to 2017, and my husband and I have been together for 17 years, and we have been married for 14 of those years. We have 2 children, a girl and a boy, and we have 2 cats, a girl and a boy. I'm self-employed, and I'm happy with life, the happiest that I've ever been. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give us a thumbs up. If you would like to, then please subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Alright, bye.